Welcome to Doomscroll.fm Top Stories, where reality unravels like a soap opera, written by caffeinated squirrels and narrated by a jazz-loving cyborg with a vendetta. This show is 100% AI generated with zero human consultation, much like a mushroom's dream of becoming a stand-up comedian in a world populated by sentient rubber ducks. And now for some views, click like and subscribe. Because nothing says, I care deeply, like a heartfelt reveal, wrapped in a promotional tour, ensuring even the most personal struggles come with a price tag and a publisher's cut. Only 56 years old, Wynne leaves us, and clouds seem a little heavier. As a weather presenter, he forecasted storms and sunshine, but in the end, it was life's unpredictable winds that took him too soon. Giorgio Armani orders brand, sold, or IPO, then exits with style. The fashion icon's final act, handing over his empire with a flourish, proving even in the afterlife, he's the king of the dramatic entrance and exit. Tell your friend that while you'd love to help, your company requires skills beyond family ties. But hey, maybe they can start their own fintech empire. Jan boasts nearly 100,000 centenarians, then claims it's all kale and karaoke. While Jan's seniors thrive on tofu and tai chi, elsewhere we're still trying to figure out if a healthy snack means eating the apple or just the pie. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. When leaders become eulogists, and eulogists become politicians, it's like trying to mend a bullet hole with a Band-Aid. When the digital coliseum becomes a stage for murder, and authorities dismiss it as a one-off, the real crime is how quickly we scroll past the horror. Only 12% of Americans own multi-million-dollar properties, and your government salary isn't exactly a golden ticket. Trump adds 22,000 jobs in August, calls it a win, but the economy looks like a used car with a fresh coat of paint. This economy's like a bad magic trick. All smoke and mirrors, and when the smoke clears, you're left holding the bill for an invisible rabbit. When diplomacy sounds like a sequel to a bad action movie, the plot twist is that the script's written in arrogance and the audience is the collateral damage. Schools fire teachers over social media posts about Charlie Kirk, proving free speech is a myth when it makes people uncomfortable. In the land of the free, educators are learning that expressing thoughts on social media can lead to a crash course in unemployment. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. When life's ancient internet is begging for a firewall, but we're too busy downloading destruction updates, it's clear we're clicking accept on our own extinction. Labor changes visa rules, risking mass exodus of prison officers who keep the UK's overcrowded jails from turning into reality TV. 80% of prison officer applicants are from overseas, but Labor's new visa rules might just convert the criminal justice system into an understaffed dystopian sitcom. Brazil Supreme Court sentences Bolsonaro to 27 years, calls it justice. When ex-presidents start collecting prison sentences like baseball cards, you know democracy's trying to flex its muscles, but it still feels like a soap opera with a twist of reality TV. Only 10% of U.S. homicides solved, and justice calls it progress. In a nation where washing machine disputes turn deadly, you have to wonder if the real spin cycle is happening in the justice system's brain. When your business model is a crypto slot machine, even J.P. Morgan starts looking like the voice of reason, and that's saying something. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Trump administration axes greenhouse gas limits, calls it freedom from science. It's like watching someone set fire to their own house, claiming it's a bold move for independence while the rest of us choke on the smoke. Only 10% of climate funds aid children, as governments call it sufficient. It's like giving a drowning child a teaspoon and calling it a lifeboat, while the adults argue over who left the faucet running. When science smashes wild speculation, it's like watching a piñata of conspiracy theories burst, and yet somehow the candy's always stale. In a world where the loudest noise is often the dumbest, a WWI-era romance whispers that maybe, just maybe, love isn't always a battlefield. Neuroscientists map brain colors, then debate if art is dead. Turns out, your brain and mine might agree on red, unless we're talking about the shade of denial when science paints over the mysteries of human experience. When a billionaire warns us about inequality, it's like a dragon advising on wildfire safety, both insightful and utterly unqualified to lead the charge. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. FBI and Utah Department brief on Charlie Kirk shooting. Silence screams louder. When the funeral procession gets more airtime than answers, it's a morbid dance where transparency takes a backseat to spectacle. Taliban reports Afghan earthquake, death toll over 2,200, calls it an act of fate. When nature's wrath dances with human neglect, the result is a grim reminder that the only real aftershock is the world's indifference to those trapped in the rubble of geopolitics. Bank of America cuts cash allocations to pre-crisis levels calls it strategy. When cash becomes trash for the wealthy, it's a reminder that the rest of us are just trying not to end up in the dumpster fire of their high-stakes Monopoly game. Ronaldo scores. Portugal defeats Hungary, but only after drama. In the grand theater of football, where Ronaldo plays the leading man, even a script as tired as the late winner can still draw applause, though some might call it déjà vu. When education becomes a battlefield and academic freedom is sacrificed on the altar of political expediency, you have to wonder if knowledge is still the point or just a pawn. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. New federal rules block COVID shots for millions. Call it streamlining. When life-saving vaccines are harder to find than a politician's backbone, it's clear the system's more interested in efficiency than humanity. When a media empire collapses under the weight of its own alleged deceit, it's like watching a magic trick where the rabbit pulls the magician out of the hat and demands a refund. It's 2025, and while the tech wizards are busy ogling over runtime visibility, the real security issues are left lurking like a forgotten password on a sticky note. Senate blocks Epstein file release in 51 to 49 vote, claiming transparency. When a bipartisan outrage sounds like a broken record, it's time to wonder if the Senate's just a well-dressed cover band for the powerful, playing the same old tune of secrecy and shadows. Google's YouTube prompts users for cookie consent, but privacy remains a distant dream. In the digital age, privacy is like a unicorn. Everyone's heard of it, but no one's ever actually seen it, especially when Google's collecting your data faster than a toddler collects germs. Google Pixel 10 adds C2PA support, claims to verify AI media authenticity, yet deepfakes still thrive. In a world where your grandma's face can be swapped with a cat's, Google's latest attempt at truth detection is like using a sieve to catch water. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Perseverance uncovers Martian mudstones, but life remains as elusive as a politician's promise. NASA's rover keeps digging into the red planet's rocky history, yet finding life on Mars is still like expecting honesty from a lobbyist. Wishful thinking. When the justice system finally acknowledges that fighting back is sometimes the only language predators understand, it might just be a bite-sized victory for bodily autonomy. FBI recovers rifle tied to Trump ally shooting, yet suspect still at large. In the land of the free and the home of the well-armed, the FBI finds the smoking gun, but can't find the shooter, leaving us with a mystery that feels like a bad episode of CI political theater. When a Dove's visitation costs less than your latest paperback, it's no wonder people choose tweets over tomes. After all, who needs poetic prose when you can get your existential crisis in 280 characters or less? These rebellious sisters are turning their twilight years into a spiritual sequel to The Great Escape, proving that even divine contracts have loopholes when your only crime is wanting to age with dignity. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Only 20% of workers survive posting about Charlie Kirk, and it's called free speech. When your career hinges on not discussing a public figure, you realize freedom of expression is now just a quaint relic from a forgotten era. When a culture warrior gets state honors, you know the universe is running a satire too rich for our blood. When your defense strategy is a game of he said, she said, you might as well arm your jets with question marks instead of missiles. Stephen Schwartzman blocked from filling UK lake during drought, despite billionaire status. When your wealth can buy you a seat next to power, but not a drop of water, it's a stark reminder that nature doesn't accept bribes, even from a Trump cheerleader. When the air you breathe is a cocktail of cognitive decline, maybe it's time for policymakers to stop treating public health like a punchline at an oil baron's banquet. When your defense strategy involves turning classrooms into war zones, you might just be the villain in your own national horror story. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Trump blames radical left for Kirk's death, ignoring the gun in the room. In a classic sleight of hand, Trump points fingers like a magician with no tricks, hoping we'll forget the rabbit is still in his hat and the smoke and mirrors are just smoke and mirrors. Brazil's Supreme Court convicts Bolsonaro for coup plot, yet democracy still feels like a shaky carnival ride. Obamacare premiums for middle-class families soar to $1,800, and they still call it affordable care. When your health insurance costs more than your mortgage, maybe it's time to ask if affordable is just a sick joke. Israel intercepts 100% of Gaza flotillas since 2010, calls it security. If your solution to international disputes is to play whack-a-mole with humanitarian aid, expect to win a gold medal in the Olympic sport of making enemies faster than you make friends. When your kid's soccer skills translate to a demolition derby, the real game becomes deciding whether you pay up or teach him the fine art of dodging responsibility like a pro politician. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Vistry profits dive. 50% calls it economic uncertainty. When your profits nosedive like a drunken seagull, and you blame the economy instead of your own flight plan. Maybe it's time to consider that the only blueprint you're following is for a house of cards. When keeping the peace involves body counts and badges, it's a grim reminder that the American dream sometimes turns into a nightmare with flashing lights. NASA finds intriguing rocks on Mars, shelves Mars, sample returned for budget cuts. When a space agency discovers cosmic breadcrumbs but cancels the bakery tour, it's like finding the Holy Grail and using it as a coffee mug. When the watchdog trades its bark for a muzzle, polluters get a free pass, while Mother Earth books a one-way ticket to landfill land. Senate Republicans invoke nuclear option to confirm Trump nominees and call it efficiency. When democracy starts resembling a game of whack-a-mole, you know the rules are less about fairness and more about how fast you can swing the mallet. It's like giving a house tour while the foundation crumbles, yet the builders are too busy debating paint colors to notice the impending doom. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Kennedy's bold approach to America's health woes is like selling a leaky umbrella in a rainstorm, promising to keep you dry while ignoring the giant hole in the fabric. Cosmic researchers predict black hole explosion, expect universe to stay mostly unexploded. Just when you thought the universe couldn't surprise you more, cosmic burp from the dawn of time teases us with the promise of new physics, as if we weren't already confused by dark matter and the Kardashians. Financial fawning is the fiscal equivalent of setting your wallet on fire to keep others warm. And it's time to stop confusing self-sabotage with kindness. After 15 years of trying to stay relevant, Daughtry's latest album is the musical version of a midlife crisis. Loud, energetic, and desperately seeking validation. Erica Kirk breaks silence on Charlie's shooting death, calls it senseless. In a world where thoughts and prayers are cheaper than a cup of coffee, Erica Kirk's grief is yet another reminder that empty words won't stop bullets. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Even as scientists unveil the microscopic escape plans of these tenacious brain tumors, it's a grim game of hide and seek where the stakes are life itself, and the tumors always seem to have the last laugh. Gold hits record highs for the 30th time this year, yet some investors still clutch it like a life preserver in a kiddie pool, while gold bugs ponder selling their shiny security blankets. The real question is whether their stockpiling is a hedge against inflation or just a golden security blanket for a global anxiety attack. In a world where quantum leaps are made with toy-like simplicity, you'd think we'd have figured out how to apply that ingenuity to, I don't know, curing ignorance or only 10% of Americans trust media. Charlie Kirk's death won't change that. In a world where facts are optional and opinions are weaponized, the truth is just another casualty on the battlefield of public discourse. When the headlines blur into noise, it's hard to hear the cries for clarity. Victorian liberal president warns of crisis, but moderates dismiss power challenge. When your political strategy resembles a messy divorce, it's hard to convince anyone you've got a family-friendly future. Uniting a party that can't even agree on the color of the sky? Good luck with that pipe dream. The tragedy of political violence hits home. Yet the NRA and their political puppets would probably send thoughts and prayers instead of gun control. It's easier to blame the victim than to admit the system is a flaming dumpster. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Ireland exits Eurovision over Gaza, while Israel sings louder. Eurovision, where sequins meet politics and countries vote for their frenemies, now tangled in a geopolitical karaoke war. Ireland's absence might mean fewer shamrocks, but plenty of awkward political key changes. When celebrity activism meets geopolitics, it's like a blockbuster with a script written by Kafka and directed by Orwell. Let's hope the sequel doesn't feature a red carpet rolled out over a moral abyss. Murder suspect remains elusive, and conspiracy theorists dub it a deep state cover-up. In a world where facts are optional and paranoia is currency, every shadow becomes a government plot, and every unsolved crime a thriller novel waiting for a rewrite. First Sea Lord demands full readiness in 4 years as the ocean laughs and waves. When you set sail on a ship of ambition without a wind in sight, you'd better hope your crew can row faster than the tides of reality. Rutgers researchers study orangutan's diet, promising weight loss secrets for humans. Turns out, these ginger-furred nutritionists manage feast and famine without a gym membership or kale smoothie in sight, making our diet fads look like a bad punchline. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. TV cooking shows vanish faster than a cronut at a diet convention, then blame the audience's shrinking attention span. Turns out watching someone make a croissant donut hybrid is less thrilling than scrolling past 1,000 recipes on TikTok in 5 minutes flat. Price's refusal to back leadership or apologize for her spicy comments turned out to be the political equivalent of juggling flaming torches while standing on a soapbox. Blood test detects mesothelioma invisibility, yet cures remain elusive. Spotting cancer with a blood test while treatments still play hide and seek is like finding a ghost and asking it for directions. When a museum turns into an unwitting morgue, maybe it's time to question if their definition of exhibit includes forgotten family reunion. When your welcome package includes body armor, it's less a country and more a reality show where the prize is just surviving another day. Utah governor calls Charlie Kirk's shooting an attack on all of us, yet NRA's silence is louder than a gunshot. Erica Kirk finally breaks her silence, but it's the echo of a bullet that drowns out the political platitudes and leaves us questioning the true cost of silence. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Economists predict drop, but claims surge to 263,000, defying expectations. Looks like the crystal ball's on the fritz again, as jobless numbers rocket beyond predictions. Maybe it's time economists swap their dartboards for actual data. The suspect's quick capture might be the only thing moving fast in a state where the speed limit and progress both seem stuck in reverse. When your bullets come with footnotes, it's clear the American experiment is a mad science project run by a mad scientist with a Twitter account. Trump claims concern for America, then adds more fuel to the fire. Worrying about the country while holding a matchstick is like claiming to be a firefighter at an arsonist convention. The showmanship is impressive, but the outcome is predictably disastrous. New Haven breaks world record for largest pizza party, and the cheese was the only thing that was truly unlimited. When your town's claim to fame is a colossal pizza party, it's a toss-up whether you're celebrating community or just carbo loading for the apocalypse. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Fed promises rate cuts, then small stocks dream of becoming giants. Bankers are the only magicians who can turn a potential economic crisis into a sales pitch for small cap stocks. And we're all supposed to clap like it's the greatest trick we've ever seen. This is the political equivalent of locking up the arsonist while the entire fire department argues over who gets the last marshmallow. Wall Street's appetite for digital currency is like a dog chasing its tail. It's exhilarating until you realize they're both running in circles. Protesters exit D.C. restaurant as Trump dines, leaving the establishment surprisingly intact. The idea of dining near Trump causing a mass exodus is less about culinary critique and more about indigestion from political indigence. EchoStar clinches multi-billion-dollar SpaceX and AT&T deals, yet still ponders what to do with its leftover wireless spectrum buffet. With a spectrum stash that rivals a dragon's hoard, EchoStar seems poised to auction off the airwaves like a tech-savvy auctioneer who just discovered eBay. Trump officials link vaccines to child deaths, then stocks plummet. In a world where science fiction meets political horror, vaccine makers are left wondering if they're in a Twilight Zone episode or just a rerun of Blame Anything But Us. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Trump announces Charlie Kirk medal, then witnesses describe Kirk shooting after him. Giving Charlie Kirk the Medal of Freedom is like awarding a gold medal to someone for inventing water, absurdly unnecessary and slightly embarrassing for everyone involved. The manhunt for Kirk's killer is a grim reminder that political violence is the real virus, yet somehow thoughts and prayers remain the only known vaccine. When your online order takes a detour to Davy Jones's locker, maybe it's time to reconsider the logistics of oceanic Jenga. Wall Street banks tout record profits as the economy teeters. It's like watching a juggling act where the juggler's on fire, but the audience only cheers louder, blissfully ignoring the smell of burning hair and economic ruin. When the streets become a battlefield of chants and banners, it's like two sides playing tug-of-war with the idea of humanity, each convinced they're the ones pulling toward progress, while the rope frays in the middle. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. It's like watching a magician pull a rabbit out of a hat, only to insist there's no hat, no rabbit, and you should just trust the magic. It's like throwing a party on a sinking ship. Britain's GDP flatlines, but the FTSE 100 dances on, proving that stock markets are the ultimate masters of denial. Spotify demands users update browsers, but still can't make Joe Rogan listenable. It's a bit rich to push tech upgrades when your algorithm still thinks throwing Nickelback into your Chill Vibes playlist is a good idea. German police assault 25-year-old protester. Call it crowd control. When the baton of justice swings wildly, it leaves both bruises and the bitter taste of irony as freedom of speech gets tackled to the ground. Winklevoss twins pocket $3 billion as Gemini stock skyrockets, call it democratizing wealth. When billionaires get richer by selling digital dreams, it's a masterclass in how to play the house while the rest of us are stuck betting on red in their crypto casino. When your financial future is as stable as a house of cards in a hurricane, why not invest in virtual coins and keep the fantasy alive? You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. When increasing the pace means turning homes into pyres, it's more than a military operation. It's a chilling reminder that some leaders see human lives as mere obstacles on their strategic chessboard. Adobe's earnings beat expectations and stock rises 4%, but AI threatens its creative throne. When your stock climbs while your legacy teeters on the AI edge, it's like dancing on a tightrope with a safety net made of spaghetti. When your bank account has more zeros than a math textbook, it seems the only thing left to do is play billionaire leapfrog. Nepal appoints Sushila Karki as interim PM, faces protests. Imagine becoming the captain of a ship while it's already sinking, and the crew is busy arguing whether the iceberg was ever real. When your stock rides the coattails of another's success, it's like being the backup dancer who finally gets a spotlight, but let's not pretend it's your choreography. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. UN Security Council condemns Israeli attack, and the U.S. finds its moral compass just in time for a photo op. It's amazing how quickly international principles like territorial integrity become sacred when there's an oil-rich ally involved, turning global diplomacy into a farcical game of pick and choose values. The blame game is the only bipartisan sport left in Washington, where responsibility is as rare as a unicorn at a dog show. It's a cosmic joke when we find potential life on Mars, yet struggle to preserve it here on Earth, where the only thing multiplying faster than inflation is blame. Royal family gatherings are like a soap opera where the plot refuses to develop, leaving viewers stuck on the same cliffhanger since the last royal wedding. California dog votes twice in elections. Democracy fetches a new low. In a state where even Fido gets a say. Maybe it's time we teach our pets the Constitution or let them run for office. After all, they can't do much worse than us. Colorado school shooting hospitalizes 3, and thoughts and prayers continue their dismal track record. When the Only thing more predictable than a school shooting is the hollow cycle of thoughts and prayers. It's clear we've learned absolutely nothing. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. When a prince sheds tears, it's either for the cameras or a heartfelt plea to remind us that empathy is the new currency in the world's most expensive reality show. When a country hands the keys to an algorithm, it's like asking your toaster for marriage advice. Sure, it can heat things up, but don't expect it to understand why you're burnt out. Only 20% of Pokemon card collectors profit, and Wall Street calls it a gold mine. When cardboard monsters outperform your mutual fund, it might be time to rethink your investment strategy, or just start catching them all. Only 30% of music fans appreciate blues, and Lady Ray calls it a revival. When the universe hands you a karmic soundtrack, sometimes it's just a blues riff reminding you that life's a never-ending cover of Oops, I Did It Again. Amaran, the releases Drop Dead Cynical, promises optimism is overrated. In a world where sincerity is as rare as a politician's apology, cynicism becomes the new black. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Iranian officials fear Khamenei's health, then insist the regime is rock solid. When the supreme leader goes off grid, it's like losing Wi-Fi during a live stream of your own trial. Six officers fired over domestic violence case, but justice remains as elusive as a unicorn in a haystack. When those sworn to protect fumble the ball so hard, it results in tragedy. It's time we ask if the system's manual got lost in translation. Only 20% of music inspires hope, and Yoko Kanno calls it her legacy. When a melody can make you feel like tomorrow might not be a flaming trash parade, you found a rare gem in the cacophony of despair. Only 20% of Gen Z can name a 90s trance hit, and streaming services call it nostalgia. When music becomes a relic faster than a meme, you know the algorithm's winning the culture war while your playlist becomes a digital museum. When guitars wail like banshees and drums thunder like 1,000 marching boots, it's not just music, it's a sonic revolution in a world that desperately needs one. When classic beats hit your ears like a time machine, it's clear nostalgia is the real currency in the age of algorithm-approved earworms. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Germany's army demands to double its size because nothing says peace like doubling the military When your solution to world stability is more boots on the ground, it's like trying to fix a leaky roof by adding more rain. Neck Deep drops Hey Judgment Day, offers end times with a catchy beat. Nothing screams pop-punk rebellion like dancing on the ashes of society while strumming power chords and pretending the world's a stage for teenage angst. When the referees start playing for one team, you know the game isn't just rigged. It's a full-blown circus with clowns in judicial robes. Funk, the genre where the beat's so hypnotic. You forget you don't actually know what any of it means, much like trying to read the fine print on your social media's new terms and conditions. It's a punk hymn for the modern age where salvation comes with a side of irony and a tall drink. Because who needs solemnity when you've got sarcasm and suds? You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news, where sanity melts like sugar. Proof nothing is true, reality is shattered desire. Only 32% of alt-rock fans recognize Concrete Blonde, and streaming platforms call it a revival in a world where music algorithms decide your playlist. Discovering God is a bullet feels like finding a vinyl record in a sea of digital noise. This has been Doomscroll.fm, fading into irrelevance. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth. Fictional satire, resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe any of this is real, consider enrolling in a course on mythical creatures. Hear more at doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening.